And that's how my brain works. So it's about execution and achieving those results efficiently and accurately. The reason why I named the podcast The Planned Podcast, because good morning and welcome to another episode of the Car Pod. I'm Angela, and this is a little series that I've incorporated into my overall podcast, The Planned Podcast. I wanted to first talk about the name of the podcast, because I'm sure there's people who are kind of like, why is it called The Planned Podcast? So, I guess just to keep it simple, I'm a little bit of a planner. So, I'm not crazy with checklists, but I know that when it comes to keeping things organized, it's not all just going to be in your head. You know, you got to have it written down somewhere. And one of my coined phrases that I always used to say, particularly when I came back into the church and when I was trying to get my life right, I'd quit drinking, I wanted to get right with God. I think my comfort zone was in, what's the plan? That's what I would say all the time with anything. When we'd talk about going out to eat and doing something, I'd be like, okay, what's the plan? And I'm very much about, at least in my mind, the way I work is if I can see the end result, like what you want to do or what a person would like to do or a group of people want to do, if I can see the end result, then I can backtrack and figure out almost the most efficient way to get there. And that's how my brain works. So it's about execution and achieving those results efficiently and accurately. That's just how I am. It's a little bit robotic, I know. I actually am a human. I have feelings. I can also go with the flow. I've had to learn how to do it, but I can go with the flow. The reason why I named the podcast The Planned Podcast, because since my coined phrase was always, what's the plan? I figured The Planned Podcast, because now I'm at a point in my life where it's not always what's the plan. It's there's a plan. Sometimes you just got to go with it. Sometimes you have to plan effectively and accordingly. So that's why I named it The Planned Podcast. Just thought I would start off that introduction that way. Now, I wanted to also highlight who my audience is. This podcast, the information I'm going to share, things that I intend on building out through this are not going to be for everybody. I am focusing mainly on women who are in a 9-to-5 that want to get out of it, women who had just been released from their 9-to-5 and they have no idea where to get started or what to do. They feel devastated by it. Or it's just women who want to make something of their own, basically. And I'm documenting my journey in doing that so others can sort of follow the makeshift blueprint for now. And if you're a woman who wants to get more organized, who wants to become more efficient in what she does and how she does it, I can help with that too. I'm a great spreadsheet, checklist, organization type of person. That's what I've done professionally in my career. I was a person who would evaluate a situation and then basically decide in a corporate environment what efficiencies need to be taken care of where, or what deficiencies need to be taken care of where, and how we go about perfecting those processes. And having done it professionally, and then having gone through the roller coaster of being laid off right after bereavement leave and then trying to figure out what to do, I realized, why not apply that to my personal life? And then I took it a step further and I'm like, wait a second, I'm a child of God. So I should not only be applying this to my personal life, I should be applying this to my spiritual life. And so this whole journey is a way of me trying to help you who are maybe finding yourself in that similar situation as a woman who maybe you're married, maybe you have kids, maybe you're single, whatever the case is, if you find like you just need somebody to help you get your footing, then I'm going to do my best to be that person for you. I'm also a big motivational sort of person. Like, I'm the person who wants to come in and tell you you're better than what you think you are. You've got this. Don't give up. Stay strong. You're beautiful. You're smart. I mean, don't let the devil trick you into thinking you're something you're not. So with that being said, this is the podcast. This podcast is more of a way to draw some visibility to the topics that I'm going to be discussing. It's not necessarily what I want to make as my business per se. I am working on ways to open up the opportunity to have one-on-ones with people. I'm going to be creating certain spreadsheets or documents that will be free for you all to access. And basically the goal is I want to serve you. I want to help you. And giving something that I am passionate about away to you is, one, what you need. Two, it is a way for me to build my brand and my business, because ultimately I too want to get out of the 9-to-5. And so we're on this journey together. I'm going to jump into basically the main topics of discussion that I wanted to talk to you about today. I have notes on my phone over here. This is going to be a very raw sort of podcast. This isn't going to be overly edited, not extremely scripted. So I'm all about creating originality, allowing originality to come out through creative processes. So this podcast is going to be just original. I'm going to have some editing, but not a whole lot. So you're going to see me looking over to the right. That's because I'm looking at my notes on my phone. And I want to make sure that I get all the information out to you that I've wanted to discuss. Starting your side hustle journey. By the way, shout out in the comments if you think I should make like branded items. I love trucker hats. So if you're a girl who likes hats, let me know. Okay, starting your side hustle journey. Now that I've been getting into podcasting, I have been listening to a lot of podcasts. And I never used to be like crazy into podcasts, but now that I've been getting into it more, I've realized, holy smokes, you can learn a lot out of certain types of podcasts. And it's great because you can actually listen to it on the go. Not everybody's that kind of learner. I'm sort of a combination learner. I'm very much hands-on, visual, and auditory. Like, I need all three in a lot of circumstances. Not every circumstance, but a lot. Especially if I'm trying to, like, break something down and, like, help you perfect it. I gotta be hands-on, seeing it, hearing it, and being able to even, like, play around with it to figure out how it works, how it breaks, all of that. My goal has been to learn everything I can about a lot of different topics when it comes to financial freedom, building your business, building your brand, starting a podcast, and then also digging into what do I really want to share with you. And I think when it comes down to building a brand or a side hustle or a business, you as a woman need to decide, what is it that I'm passionate about? Am I passionate about being a mother? Am I passionate about being a homemaker? Am I passionate about cooking, cleaning? Do I like creating little design templates on Canva and sharing them with others to use? What is it that you are known for where everybody comes to you and they're like, hey, whatever your name is, can you help me with this? And then a week or two later, somebody else comes up to you, hey, can you help me with that? And it's like, you're the focal point for one specific action or one specific skill where people really want your services. And it's something that you find that, oh, I kind of enjoy doing that. That's the thing. And one of the podcasts that I've listened to, I don't know if any of you have heard of Myron Golden, but the man is like brilliant, blows my mind. He, like, the stuff he talks about and how he packages what he's talking about, there's a lot of it where it's like, oh my gosh, I know that, but why didn't I think of it like that, So anyways, that was a bunny trail. When it comes to creating your side hustle or creating that little thing that you want to make money at, it's not just gonna, like, one day you're like, okay, I'm gonna quit my job, and then for 3 weeks straight, I'm just gonna lock myself away and focus on this, and then it's gonna work. No, that's not how it works. There's people that like that legitimately made it happen like that. That's because they already had a plan in place, and they did all the extra footwork ahead of time. Or they've already built brands before, so they already know, like, there was already a plan, okay? The plan was already there. What you have to do to be able to start getting that process going is a phrase that Myron had used in one of his podcasts, earn while you learn. And I was listening to that podcast one day. I think I was cooking in my kitchen, and I was listening to the podcast, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I always thought that was the wrong way to do it. I thought people wouldn't, like, it wouldn't help me to do that. And I'm not going to lie to you. I have affiliate links that I'm going to be using for this podcast. I have different connections that I've made that I will be using for this podcast, because my goal is to earn money, but it's to serve you in the process. And so the whole concept of earn while you learn is literally what I am doing with you right now. I am literally driving to my 9-to-5 right now. I have safely set up my camera and my phone in certain areas of the vehicle where I can talk to you while safely driving to work. And granted, it is like stop and go traffic where I'm at. So I've been going like 15 miles an hour for the last like 10 miles. That's just how it is where I live. If you haven't guessed already, it is South Florida. For the longest time, I always thought earning while you learn was the wrong way to do it. I don't know why. I don't know if maybe it's because we've always seen these perceptions of how people portray themselves on social media, and the perceptions are just so unrealistic. I just got to break through that wall. And there's another podcast that I was listening to, and I forget who was on it and who was discussing it. I think it was Omar El Takori. I think he had a guest on his podcast. But they talk about breaking through the wall and just doing the thing. Two phrases that, again, blew my mind, because it like unlocked little compartments in my brain. If you are finding yourself in a position like where I'm at, and you're trying to figure out what to do and how to do it and motivate yourself to do it, you just got to do it. So if there's something that you've been wanting to try, something you've been wanting to do, something where you're like, I want to build this as a little side hustle. I want to start doing this. I want to get into that. You just got to get started. Disclaimer. Or I guess this is more of like, I'm revealing what I've gone through. This is not the first podcast that I've recorded. I think I said this in an earlier podcast, like test run that I was doing, but I believe I'm now on podcast number 9 of a test run, or doing it, I should say. I've been doing different trial runs in terms of like locations, where to sit, how to set up the camera. There was a day, like maybe 2 weeks ago, I invested in this little arm for my camera to clamp it to my dashboard. And I went outside and I sat in the car for like 30 minutes repositioning this camera in all sorts of different angles along the dashboard, where I would put my phone, all this stuff. And I took the time. And that was like little tiny bits of unnecessary time where a lot of people are like, oh, that's such a waste. Oh, that's so like, oh, I don't want to do it, And it's like, you got to start somewhere. And so start somewhere. When you don't have an audience or you don't have people who are looking at what you're doing per se, is the best time to really figure out what you need to do and how you need to do it. And that's what I'm doing here. So if you're watching this, thank you for watching, because you're probably one of my few viewers right now, which is fine. But you got to start somewhere. So that's just doing the thing. The other thing was breaking through the wall. And this particular podcast, I think, was highlighting the impacts of imposter syndrome. Now, I'm going to tell you, my faith is big in my life. My church, my faith, my belief, huge in my life. And it's literally ingrained in what makes me now. Okay? So I'm going to talk about my faith on this podcast. And I want to tell you that breaking through the wall lends itself to the topic of imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is literally a trick of the devil. I'm going to tell you why. Eve was led to doubt. Doubt it contributes to imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is what puts us in a place where we not only doubt God, but then we think that because of what the doubt is telling us, that we can't do what we're meant to do. And I've realized more and more after just digging into myself, after I'd gotten laid off, like it had been a whole new, it was like another way of like my old self dying and my new person like coming to life. The more you dig into yourself, the more you're going to find those deficiencies or issues where it's held you back. And for me, I was holding myself back in so many ways and I didn't even see it. And that's the crazy part. And we're so scared to dig into ourselves and to unlock those fears, unlock those doubts, unlock those misconceptions of who we could be or who we are now. And we're so afraid to address those that it just keeps us stuck. And it's a crazy psychological game that the devil likes to play with us and toy with us. And I'm telling you, you can't be afraid to dig into who you are. And that has been one of my biggest problems, or one of my biggest, I guess, victories too. After having gotten laid off, I had to dig into who I was because I had all this extra time on my hands. And I'm like, okay, there's only so many times I can wipe this counter down. There's only so many times I can start cleaning this same spot in the house or this other room in the house. I need to start digging into me. And it'll create a domino effect. I'm not going to lie to you. It'll affect other people. But the crazy part is, if you put God first in this whole process, and if you put God ahead of yourself in this process, the Lord is going to guide you into a crazy real way that it's going to affect other people for the better. Because the people who aren't meant to be in your life will slowly fade away. They were gone. It was a season and now they're gone. And the people that are meant to stay in your life will suddenly start to lock in more to who you are. And they'll make it known. And they'll be more honest and more forthcoming with you, because they realize that your character has changed or improved, or there's more things that they've realized about you now because you've been unlocking yourself for them to see. It's crazy. It's like Pandora's box in a crazy way that we put ourselves in, and the Lord puts us in situations so that we can get ourselves out. And oh my gosh, this is totally going off topic of what I was wanting to share with you today on this podcast. So praise God. If you got something out of that, great. If you want me to touch on it more, let me know in the comments of this video. So all of that from starting your side hustle as a woman trying to get your footing, you got to first just do the thing, and you got to start working towards breaking through that wall. Because breaking through the wall, it's going to take time. It's not just going to, happen when you just do the thing. Because you're going to have multiple situations or scenarios where it's all about, oh, I just have to do this thing. Or, oh, that's another, just got to do that thing over there. Or, oh, there's another one. I just got to do that thing over there. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But you have to make sure that you balance it with consistency, patience, and a level of contentment too. I mean, this whole process is resting on the fact that you are content and you're consistent. You're putting God first, and now you start taking one step at a time. And that's how seasons of life work. That's how improving yourself works, because this is a race, right? This whole journey, our lives, it's a race. It's a journey where you put one step in front of the other, one foot in front of the other, and gradually you're going to be able to look back and be like, holy smokes, that's where I came from. And that was so long ago. So focusing on breaking through that wall, you need to take it one step at a time. All right? Don't get impatient with yourself. I don't want to say I'm one of the most impatient people. When I say impatient, it's impatience on a level of like, why can't this job work out? Or why don't they see my skill so that they can promote me? Or why can't so-and-so just accept the fact that I'm trying to help them? Like, it's impatience ingrained into cause and effect of, I guess, just circumstances, which basically applies to everybody when it comes to impatience, but you have different types of impatience. And so mine has always been, I think, more so impatience with God, ultimately, now that I'm thinking about it. And I've had to learn over the last 4.5 months now, that I just need to chill. I just need to wait. Everything you go through is all about putting one foot in front of the other and then waiting. And I know it's the worst, and it sounds like, ugh, this is a waste of time. Oh, this is crazy. I'm not doing that. But I'm telling you, that's what you got to do. That's the process. That's the plan. Okay? And that's literally how God operated with every single one of his apostles. I mean, I'm telling you, Paul, he was a one foot in front of the other kind of guy. He would go when God told him to go. He would wait when God wanted him to wait. And he would be effective in the situation that was a crappy situation. But he would figure out ways to be like, okay, I'm in prison. All right, I'm going to talk to everybody about Jesus in here. Oh, okay, I'm on a deserted island and I just got bit by a poisonous snake. Okay, I'm going to do what I have to do here and share the gospel here. His end goal was not dissuaded in any way by his circumstances. And yet, even though he was in these periods of waiting, he was still moving forward, which is a crazy concept because it goes against all natural understanding of what it means to progress. Right? That whole concept of progressivism, like, it does not in any way align with God's version of progressivism. Sorry, I couldn't say the word. So, keep putting one foot in front of the other and wait on God. If you don't hear him, there's one of two things that are happening. Either you're not being obedient and doing everything you're supposed to be doing, and he's waiting on you to make the right choice, or he's staying silent because he's waiting for your faithfulness to come through and to see how real you truly are. And I've been in both scenarios. Majority of people have. Just the majority of people may not recognize it. Doing exactly what I'm doing, building your 9-to-5, or building your side hustle around your 9-to-5, means finding those loopholes and areas of time where you can be more efficient. So instead of watching like two episodes of a Netflix show, watch one. Reprioritize the extra stuff you're doing and think, at the end of the day, this is to build towards a better goal. The next point that I actually was researching these on Google, and I through Google and ChatGPT. One of the top things that is searched on Google and in YouTube is best side hustles for women in 2024. There's not going to be at least through my own personal research and experience, I've been trying to start a business ever since I was in high school. Like, I've tried all sorts of stuff. For those of you who remember Amway, I was one of those high schoolers who was trying to get into Amway. Okay. With that being said, I've tried a lot of different things, and I think there's a few things that if I would have stuck with it, it would have worked, but I didn't stick with it. So when it comes to starting the best side hustle in 2024 for a woman, it's like what I've been saying this whole time. You have to identify what it is you're passionate about, what it is you enjoy doing, and where your goals lie. What is the thing that people are coming to you for help? That's the thing that you should really consider perfecting into a side hustle or business. I'm not going to be able to sit here and tell you that there's a cookie cutter way to do this. What I can do is I can take my life and what I'm doing and use it as an example for you. If you want to sit down, I'm developing a schedule for one-on-ones or consultation. My goal is to build out side hustle or consultations and some workbooks. I've been working on some materials, but it's to help you sort of just reorganize what you're doing. I'm not so much about telling you how to necessarily build a brand in regards to like, oh, this is your niche, so this is the best platform for you to use. I'm not really extremely knowledgeable in those areas. I'm still figuring those areas out for myself. So I'm more so of the mindset to keep things simple. And then as I grow, I can start to identify things that have worked for me that could work for you. Another podcast that I have listened to in the past and am currently, digesting or listening to when I am at work, like on lunch breaks, whatever, is in this podcast, the speaker, and I'm trying to remember who it was again. I listen to so many different random ones, so I don't know if this was a guest talking about this or if this was the actual podcast host. They were talking about how your goal is to not suddenly start this whole complicated process in building your brand. So you shouldn't suddenly decide today, like, oh, I have to build a website. Oh, I have to create a whole branding packet. Oh, I have to get professional photography. I have to buy all this expensive equipment. No. My earlier point about starting simple lends into what this point means. Don't just dive into something, because if you're going to dive into it, your success is not going to come out of you just buying all this stuff and getting it all set up. The success is going to be coming out of you taking the time to build the process and to act on the process items that you've identified. And that is something where my personal skills lie. I am somebody who, like I said before, in my corporate career, that's a majority of what I've done in several of my jobs. I have identified needs and processes and functions that either need to be eliminated or enhanced. And I've built out the process for accomplishing those goals. And they've been successful. So I want to help you do that on the level of your personal life and where you want to take what that thing is that you want to make as your side hustle. So helping you get your footing to the point where, okay, here's my feet. I'm going to move my right foot in front. All right, I got that step. Now I'm going to move my left foot. All right, I got that step. And that's where I can come in to help you. So by the time I get this podcast posted, I'm hoping that I will have my basic organizational spreadsheet listed in the video, the bio of my YouTube channel, or it's going to be like in the bio links of TikTok or Instagram, wherever you may be seeing clips of this particular podcast. Downloadable spreadsheet. Just go in there, enter your name, your email, and then that's it. And it'll be yours to use. Now, the process of identifying those different areas that you need to maybe tweak, change, reprioritize, that's going to be up to you to do. If you want my help with that, I can provide that. So again, by the time I get this podcast posted, hopefully I'll have a consultation link in my YouTube channel, and hopefully I can start taking on those consultations. For the general listener who's just listening to this podcast, you're not really interested in the material, you're not really interested in a consultation, you're just listening for mental notes and educational purposes. Number one, put God first in your pursuit. Number two, identify what you have to do, what actions you need to take, where you have deficiencies or weaknesses or areas that are like, I could really do without XYZ. And then determine from there how you're going to reprioritize those different areas to become more efficient in your daily processes for your life. And then act on those identifiers. That's what you got to do. I know it may sound a little crazy or a little confusing with the words that I'm using, but that's like the corporate speak bleeding into this conversation, and I'm sorry. I hate the fact that I do that. But if you know, you know. I'm going to actually end this podcast here. I have so many other points that I wanted to touch on. So if I can talk to you about those, maybe on my drive back home, I'll try to. Maybe my next morning drive that I have to head over to my job, I'll try to do that. But after listening to this and after thinking on everything that I've talked about, really start to, I guess, take in account in your life what all you're doing. If you feel like you're stuck, if you feel like you could just be doing more, you could be doing better, then consider, if you're always going to keep doing what you're doing, you're never going to get anywhere else. Nothing's going to change. The saying goes, if you keep doing what you've done, you're going to keep getting what you've always got. And I want to implore you and encourage you to reprioritize, reevaluate, put in a check areas of your life where you're like, you know what? This is going to hurt, or this is going to be hard, or this is not going to be easy, but let me reevaluate what I'm doing here. Or let me reveal and put in God's hands what I'm doing there. It's not going to be a comfortable experience. Growth is not comfortable. But I want you to consider what it could do for you and how it could impact your life for the better if you were to take that chance. Thanks for listening. I'm Angela in my series of the Car Pod for my podcast, the Planned Podcast. If you like what you're listening to, as they say, smash that subscribe button. Follow me, whatever social channel you're seeing these clips from, and leave me a comment. Let me know if there's other things you want to understand or learn more about or, I don't know, hear more of. And I'd love to talk about it. Have a great day.